Ghostface is basically turning into Michael Myers with a phone plan. The kills are reaching Friday the 13th levels of insanity. When Scream came out in 1996, I should have been the target audience. I graduated high school in 97, but Jason is 9 years younger than me and actually grew up with these movies. You saw Scream when you were 8 years old. Growing up with them, did you think of them more as horror movies or mysteries? Did all the meta commentary and movie references, did that matter to you? Because you hadn't seen a lot of those other movies.
It went all over my head until when I went back and watched it in college. That's really when this is about something.
I understood that reference.
I never thought of Scream as a horror movie. I thought it was a more edgy Agatha Christie. That's the thing that I'm really drawn to in these movies, is trying to figure out who did it.
One other thing.
As it's progressed, they kind of break the rules where they don't give me the information I need to be able to figure out who the killer is. That part of Scream has kind of changed over the years.
In 96, I went and saw this in theaters, and it did feel fresh and different. Just rewatching it, the things that struck me, how fast it moves. The pace just kind of, I'm not saying that the plot leaves anything out, but we're not wasting time staring at the wall. This thing is clicking along. Movies today don't move like that, do they?
No. And if it would have been today, we would have seen flashbacks of her with her mom. And there would have been a whole lot of sub-stories that weren't important to it. You could tell he had a vision, and we kind of just stay on that track. It's really refreshing after watching a lot of films today.
And the other thing that struck me is that the whole story takes place over a short period of time in universe.
Yeah, 3 days probably, if that.
This is not weeks or months. From the opening scene with Drew Barrymore.
You like scary movies?
Or all the way to the party at Stu's house. We got about 2 or 3 days. Watching this now filled me with nostalgia for pre-cell phone times.
Yeah, the line about what's the kid doing with the cellular telephone.
Let me ask you this. What are you doing with a cellular telephone, son?
When they first view the switcheroo with Billy.
I mean, when Billy is in Sidney's room and a phone falls out of his pocket, it's like, ooh, dum dum dum. It's
a cell phone.
Yeah, that fills me with nostalgia now, because I remember when you only knew 1 or 2 people that had one. Another thing that struck me was Randy does not have near as much screen time as I thought he did.
He's very comedic relief.
I'll turn behind you.
It does show you how big a role could be. He really became iconic in this franchise.
Don't you know the rules? What rules? You don't... Jesus Christ, you don't know the rules?
With not a ton of screen time. Key things that differentiate the beginning of this franchise. It was directed by Wes Craven, written by Kevin Williamson. And in the first Scream, there is no gratuitous gore and no gratuitous nudity. So we're talking about horror movie tropes, but Wes Craven was not afraid of gore.
No, not at all.
Watch this.
Last House on the Left, 1972. That was his first film, and it was shocking for its graphic depictions of violence when it came out. People left the theater over how graphic the violence in Last House on the Left was. So Wes, this was a choice. It wasn't oh, I'm afraid of gore, I'm afraid of sexuality. He was trying to make it smart.
Mm-hmm.
You can't skewer these things and lean into them heavily at the same time.
Also, I think Kevin Williamson plays a huge part in that, because Kevin Williamson is neck deep in Dawson's Creek, and it shows in this movie. It feels like an episode of Dawson's Creek, but there's a murderer in it.
Another thing that I have forgotten about Scream 1 is the mystery. It's played up so well in this one. They give you so many red herrings. Of all the Screams, this one gives you the most suspects. I mean, for a minute you think it's the principal. For a minute they want you to think it's the sheriff. They're stringing Sydney's dad along for the whole film as maybe, that's the one that the people in universe think
Yeah.
Sydney's father. He made the calls with a cellular phone.
it is. So did they ever return to a mystery as tightly concocted as that?
The mystery is really fun in 4. It's the only one besides 7 that I had gotten wrong. And
Yeah.
we'll get to 7. I have thoughts on 7.
You heard Jason, folks. He does indeed have thoughts on 7, but for right now, that wraps up our first video on our deep dive series of Scream. With Scream 1, if you are in the mood for some more meta horror discussion, check out our video about Scream versus Wes Craven's New Nightmare right over here, or come back for the next installment of our Scream series. Up next, Scream 2.